The views or opinions expressed on Ann Arbor Inclusive do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the City of Ann Arbor and the Commission on Disability Issues. For more information about the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues, please visit a2gov.org/disability resources.
Hello, and welcome to Ann Arbor Inclusive. I'm your host, Tom Holtlin. This is only my second show, but I can honestly say that I'm loving this job. I have a great production team here at CTN, but most of all, I've been humbled and inspired by the people and organizations that I've been meeting with in the last couple months. Today's show is no exception. I'm very happy to highlight an organization and one of its leaders whose mission is very near and dear to my own heart. It was born of informal peer-to-peer friendships. I know firsthand how powerful a mentoring relationship can be. It's the been there, done that wisdom and the sharing of vital resources that make it so successful. Michigan is home to 650,000 veterans, and today we have the honor of highlighting one of them. Daniel Patrick is a remarkable man, a United States veteran, a hero, a patriot, and a philanthropist with a powerful personal story that has come full circle. Daniel is bringing Fisher House to not only the state of Michigan, but to our own backyard at the VA hospital campus here in Ann Arbor. Before we meet Daniel, let's take a look at a video that he brought along with him.
An elderly couple.
We will always do everything we can for them.
A photo of decorated military men, Mr. Fisher seated. A two-story structure, a banner, "Welcome to Fisher House," a comfortable interior. Ken Fisher.
25 years ago, Zach was made aware of a need, and he filled it because he said, you know what, instead of sitting back and pointing out problems, let's try and be part of the solution for a change.
A ribbon cutting with Michelle Obama.
I never viewed Fisher House as work. It's become such a passion and such a labor of love for both my wife and I.
With Prince Charles, Vivian Wilson.
I started at the Fisher House in May of 1991 and was introduced via some folks at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. It just intrigued me that the Army suddenly has this independent house that would house, at no cost, families who had a loved one in the hospital.
Stacy Childs.
These families have a whole lot more to deal with than what I could ever imagine. So just being there and being supportive with them, I am just the vehicle working through Zachary and Elizabeth.
We never lost sight of the mission. We always kept our core principles in the dashboard, not the rearview mirror.
Children and families.
To welcome people into the Fisher House, to embrace them, and to give them your strength, to let them know that there's hope. You are gonna get through this. There's nothing more rewarding than that.
Christian Curry.
From the moment we arrived, we of course spent hours there at the hospital, and then we all kind of looked at each other like, what are we gonna do for the night? We didn't even know, and luckily we had there were staff there who came and got us and made sure that we knew exactly where to go there on the base. Just having that assurance that from the get-go, the very first night, that no matter what, as long as we were there for Anson, that someone would be there like you, the Fisher House, to take care of us.
Christian with his brother.
For somebody like my husband, or any military person that has their loved one in the hospital, for them to know that their family members are being taken care of, that's a huge burden off and a huge worry off of them.
Minnie Curry.
Staying at a hotel is not the same thing as staying at the Fisher House. Everybody, they would share meals, they would cook, take turns cooking. Having that bonding and having a place to do it, that meant a lot to us.
A large kitchen.
The support system is really something that has to be seen to be believed. They lean on each other during the bad days because there may be a family who's had that experience already.
Group prayers and meals.
They share the joy of the good days, and that's always something that you want to see. And they share the sorrows, because not every story does have a happy ending. But there have been relationships that have been formed within these houses that will last a lifetime. That's the magic of what's going on here.
The curved driveway in front of the large Fisher House. Fisher House, helping military families. www.fisherhouse.org.
Wow, what a great organization. It's my honor to welcome Daniel Patrick to Ann Arbor Inclusive.
Thanks so much for having me, Tom.
You're welcome. Dan, tell us your story and why you got involved in Fisher House.
Well, Fisher House has always been really, really personal to me, and that's because of where it started in my life. So what feels like a lifetime ago, I was an infantry Marine back in 05 to 09, and in 2006 I found myself hit by a grenade in Fallujah. And I was really lost and kind of trying to figure out what was next for my life. It was such a time of unknowns and trauma that I wasn't sure where it was going from there. That's where I really encountered Fisher House for the first time. So after my injury, I encountered Fisher House. That was the very first one at Walter Reed Medical Center in Maryland. And from there, it just kind of grew over time. So I had friends that, you know, through them and their families spending so much time at Fisher House, I learned more and more. I eventually stayed in a Fisher House myself with a good friend at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So, you know, my experience was growing over time, and really that's kind of the beginning of this whole thing, I think, for me. Not just the moment that I said, yeah, I'd like to be a part of this. I think it was always kind of a part of me from that moment. So, you know, when the opportunity came and I found out that Michigan didn't have a Fisher House yet, there was nothing more I could do than say, yeah, absolutely, I want to be involved. And so it's given me a chance to, you know, serve my brothers and sisters in a different way, but I think maybe even a more important way than I was able to before.
Very cool. So Daniel, why do local veterans need Fisher House here in Michigan?
Well, you know, I think you talked about that 650,000 number, and I think people forget that there's that many veterans in Michigan or just aren't aware of it. And to be honest, you know, I'm a veteran, and at one point I didn't know we had that many veterans. So the reason behind that is that, you know, 650,000 plus veterans, and a good majority of that is over the age of 55. So you're getting into issues that come with age in general. You're getting into a lot more Vietnam veterans that are showing signs from Agent Orange, and it's really affecting them. So you're talking about a lot of trips to the hospital, not to mention that, you know, any of us could end up at any point in the hospital, and a lot of those veterans receive VA care. So with that care comes the need to have family near you. You know, Fisher House, we say that a family's love is good medicine. We believe it's just as important to have that community and that bond with your family as it is to, you know, receive medication and shots. So the problem with our state is there is so much travel required for those appointments, because Ann Arbor and Detroit are really the two biggest VAs that you can get specialty care in.
Okay.
So you're talking about people coming from anywhere from the UP to, you know, the northern lower, all over the state, and even sometimes other states for specialty care here. So with that, I think a place for these veterans' families to stay while they're there, or the veteran themselves, if their family member is there, is incredibly important.
I read that your dad came to, when you were in Fisher House, he came to visit.
Yeah, like I said, I've experienced Fisher House from so many different levels. You know, my friend Chris, not a blood relative, but one of my closest, he stayed at a Fisher House with me before at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So it's really focused on who you need in your life at that time that can be there for you, but also they realize that while those people are loving on you, someone's got to be loving on them. And so that opportunity in Ann Arbor for someone to love on our veterans' families would be incredible.
That's great. And so it's my understanding there are no Fisher Houses in Michigan now. How do we make that happen?
That's correct. So like I said, there's 78 Fisher Houses across the world. And I say across the world because while the majority are here, there are actually Fisher Houses in Landstuhl, Germany, as well as one in England. But with that, you know, bringing one here is not the easiest thing. A lot of people say, well, why aren't there Fisher Houses everywhere? Why don't we just, you know, put one up? It's a really interesting and unique private-public partnership that's happened. What happens is the Fisher House Foundation National will actually build the house after a community group such as ours, Fisher House Michigan, raises the money throughout the community.
Okay.
And once that happens and the house is built, the Fisher House Foundation actually hands the keys over to the local VA. and then it will be run there from the government.
All right. So what's the status of, I know this is your charge, what's the status of Fisher House at the VA campus here in Ann Arbor?
We're actually doing incredibly well. We're really, really blessed in the community that's arisen around our veterans and around the cause and the house itself. So we're actually about $3.1 million right now out of 3.5, which is half of the construction cost.
Wow.
So we're very, very close. From there, when the house is actually dedicated, we would like to have another 1.5 million raised, and that 1.5 is to really make sure that the families don't have to worry about a thing. They can come and be comforted. They can have, gifts for the kids at Christmas and different things. It's to make sure that every bit that family spends in that house, that feels like it's their home.
Right, right. That's very cool. And after this one, will there be more?
There will. So we have actually just announced very recently that the Detroit house was approved by both the National Fisher House Foundation and the National VA. So that site will be coming down the road. We don't have any dates yet of groundbreaking or anything like that, but we are approved to fundraise for it. And then hopefully we'll see even more. The reason we call our organization Fisher House Michigan was because we didn't want it to just be Ann Arbor or just be Detroit. We wanted to make sure that all Michigan veterans were taken care of. And so, we'd love to see one at every VA in Michigan.
I bet other people are wondering, why doesn't the government pay to build Fisher houses for veterans and their families?
That's a really good question, and I always like hearing that question because it gives me a chance to talk a little bit about Zach, our founder. So the video, mentioned Zach a little bit, but really, he was an amazing man who saw the need, and Zach couldn't serve himself due to an injury, and so he said, I'm going to make sure that someday I get a chance to pay it forward to veterans. So fast forward the timeline, and Zach has built almost 40% of the Manhattan skyline. And so in 1990, after finding out the need, he said, I'm going to build these houses for veterans. And the government actually offered originally, said, okay, give us the money and we'll build them. And Zach said, I live in a really, really nice house. I've been very blessed, and I want the houses to be like that. So I'm not going to cut you a check. I'm going to build the houses, and then I will gift them to you. So that's really why the reason is for them to build these houses through our fundraising and through Fisher House National's effort to actually build the house itself is to make sure that they're so incredibly nice, that they're the way that Zachary's house was, and so that when a family comes in, they don't feel like they're in a barracks, they don't feel like they're in a hotel, they feel like they're in a house, and their house. So that's really where all of that kind of came from, and why we still continue to do it that way, and it's worked since 1990. And if it's not broken, why fix it? So
Right.
It's been an incredible program, and actually, I brought a video that I would love to show. I can talk all day about Fisher House and how great they are,
Right.
but really until you see one, it's just a picture. When you see it, you really start to understand. We have people at the National Foundation that have said, I won't even take my wife in a Fisher House because then I know I'll be putting money in a remodeling. So
Nice.
this is a far better look at why it is so great and what's so comforting about that home.
Great. Well, let's take a look.
In fast motion, a construction site. A large structure rises. Ken Fisher.
When you look at what my family does, our roots are in construction and development. So the premise behind the beginning of Fisher House was Zach saying, I'm a builder. I can get an architect. I know how to do this. And so we want to build the best possible product that we can. Because what we're trying to do here is not only help military families in their time of need, but also to honor their service.
Installing a Fisher House plaque.
When you really break down the house, it's not just a roof over your head. That obviously is important. But the byproduct is what goes on inside the house. And so we've nurtured that. From a design standpoint, we've nurtured that kind of a feeling.
Spacious hallways, bedrooms, and bathrooms.
So the way the houses are laid out, or the common areas are laid out, it's easy to sit down and talk to each other.
Reviewing construction plans.
Having these houses grow was important because we wanted to try and keep up with the need. But as they grew in size, the one thing that we just did not want to happen and really fought was to keep the feel of the Fisher House small, even though the house had grown. It never, ever gravitated into a hotel environment.
a group meal,
The support system that happens in these houses, that's actually the brick and mortar that holds them together.
a joint prayer.
And that starts with the Fisher House manager, and then it kind of works its way down to the families, and the families will come in, and then the other families will embrace them, and they become one big family within the confines of the house. So the house is like its own community. It's absolutely incredible to watch.
Two women hug in a spacious kitchen.
No matter what the metrics are, how much money you saved, how many days of lodging, those are all numbers. When it comes down to it, you've made a difference in their lives, and that's what my uncle wanted to do.
Because a family's love is good medicine. Fisher House, helping military families. www.fisherhouse.org.
Wow, what a great visual on really how it works. And you aren't kidding, what a beautiful house. And it shows you in the video clip how families eat breakfast together and getting these informal conversations, and it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most incredible parts about the Fisher House is, you know, as amazing as the building is and all of the people that are inside, it's about that community that a family feels when they're together. You know, they're going through something that might be one of the worst experiences they've ever had, if not the worst. And a lot of the times the other families are as well. So for them to get to share together and get to lean on each other, it's pretty incredible. I always said that, you know, the best thing I've done for Fisher House, as much as I love my job and I've gotten to do some great things and hopefully make a big impact.
Right.
The best thing that I've done so far was help make a meal at another Fisher House for a family. And that was probably my favorite thing, that I think seeing what the simple things can do for someone who's in that situation and how much they appreciate it, it really affects you and changes your heart. So I think it's going to be an incredible ride.
What a so much better experience than staying in a small hotel room. Somebody making you breakfast in the morning or you taking a turn the next day. I think that's very cool. So you were talking about fundraising earlier. How can folks learn more about Fisher House? How can they get involved? How can they support?
Well, there's quite a few ways. Of course, you know, donating is one way, but there's also raising awareness of what we're doing. You know, one of the biggest steps when we first started this project was getting people to know what is a Fisher House. You know, still to this day, we'll find people who don't know, and you know, we'll use the comparison to a Ronald McDonald House, and we'll give them more info. But really, eventually, we want to be in that state where people can look and say, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that. I know what that is," and really get involved. So raising awareness is a big part. And of course, part of that raising awareness is the one event that we do every year. Okay. It's called Stories of Service, and it's coming up this November 5th at Hill Auditorium. It's an amazing event. It's really kind of how our organization was born, through veteran storytellers coming and just sharing their tales. You know, they're very kind of open to tell whatever maybe they want to tell that they believe is important in their career, in their life. And it's a great time for people to come out and get to learn more about veterans in general.
Yeah.
But also to get to realize what Fisher House is all about and why we're doing this. And of course, it's held, you know, right here in the backyard of Ann Arbor, where the VA will be, and where that Fisher House will exist. So this year is going to be an incredible year. We have 5 storytellers on top of our great MCs. Those storytellers range anywhere from Guy Stern, who is a World War II soldier. He was actually a German-born Jew and escaped in his teens and then joined the Army and actually went back to fight Hitler and find his family.
Wow.
All the way to Melissa Rogerson, who is a post 9/11 veteran in the Army. She's also an Army spouse to someone who's in Special Forces, and she continues to battle for our veterans today as a disabled veteran. So it's a really incredible night. It's free. It doesn't cost anyone anything. Just come and enjoy, come and kind of lather in what is out there in the veteran community that maybe some people are missing and maybe some people just want more of.
Sure. And how do folks find out how to attend?
So you can actually find out at storiesofservice.org, but all the information and all the ways that you can help support Fisher House can be found at www.fisherhousemichigan.org, and there's a ton of information. It's also a great way to get connected to our social media and find out what we're up to on a regular basis and events that we may be attending.
And you had mentioned how folks can get involved with Fisher House here at the VA. you mentioned something about volunteers. What kind of volunteer opportunities are there?
So right now, before the house is built, one of the big volunteer opportunities that we could really utilize as an organization is ambassadors. So the problem with being a small organization is there are so many different events that people would like to have a table at. They want more information. We do a lot of these events, but there's only so many people. And when it comes down to that, we could use ambassadors. It would be a big help to just be able to train people that are willing to speak on our behalf and willing to help these families in a way that, you know, they'll never be able to understand until they see that house. Once that house is built, there are tons of volunteer opportunities, and you'll actually go through the VA manager who's running it at the time, and they're always looking for people that might want to come in and read to the kids, come cook dinner for the families, or help in several other ways. So that's another great experience that'll come up, an opportunity as soon as the house is actually built.
Very cool. Wow. Well, it's been a remarkable show. I'm so glad that we were able to have you come in and talk about Fisher House. It's been very inspiring for me to watch this. I know that I'm looking forward to watching this story unfold in the coming months and years ahead. My thanks to you, Daniel Patrick, for speaking and spending time with us today. I thank you for watching Ann Arbor Inclusive, and as always, your opinion is both welcome and important to us. Please send us feedback at a2disabilities@gmail.com. For the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues, I'm Tom Hotlin. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next month on Ann Arbor Inclusive.